After talking with Bob from Bobcat Bicycles, he made me realize that back in the old days, the only way to buy a bike was to walk into your local bike shop, browse their inventory, and if they didn't have what you wanted, you could order your bike and they could have it ready to roll in just a couple of weeks. But nowadays, we have the power to browse hundreds of bike brands and purchase a bike instantly online. But are these consumer direct companies big enough and powerful enough to take over the brick and mortar bike industry? Well, let's dive in. Before we start the video, I wanted to give full disclosure that I am riding a consumer direct bike, a Vitus Cintiair hardtail, and I'm having a blast on it.
Wow, you're flying down this.
I bought this bike on sale for right around $900, straight from the Chain Reaction Cycles website. They packed, shipped, and delivered it to me within about 10 days. That's pretty impressive. It's also worth mentioning that my first bike purchase was at a local bike shop. So I've been on both ends of the spectrum, consumer direct and brick and mortar. So let's start out with a pretty simple question. What are consumer direct bike companies and how do they work? I'm sure you've all seen an illustration like this, or at least similar to it. And to be quite honest, it's pretty self-explanatory. Consumer direct simply means the bike gets designed, manufactured, packed, and shipped directly to you, the buyer, which shortcuts the traditional business model, where the other guys use distributors to get it to the retailer and then to you. This business model was used for a long time and was favored by our beloved bike shops. And if we reverse it, you can see why. The customer buys the bike at retail price. But see, the distributor had to charge the retailer for distribution costs. And on top of that, the other guys are the original manufacturers. And whatever it took them to make the bike, they have to upcharge the distributor. So as you can see, the consumer direct business model seems to be more cost effective for the business and the customer. Which brings us to our next question. When did the consumer direct business model start? Well, back in 2004. Kendall and Kelly Bennett started a company called A-Main Hobbies, and then branched off into the cycling industry and named it A-Main Cycling, but you may better know them as Nash Bar. Nash Bar was acquired by Performance Bicycles in 2000 before their launch of A-Main Cycles. They offer bikes from Fuji and other brands you may be familiar with. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these two companies may have started a trend across the internet. High-end mountain bikes selling directly to consumers. Here's a few brands that you may be familiar with. Fazari, Nukeproof, Vitus, Canyon, YT, and Commensal to name a few. Bike Mag has actually written a really informative and interesting article on this topic. As I'm reading through this article, the sale of components and accessories definitely happened online before bikes did, but the threat has only been to sales and components until now. It says, on average, new bike sales account for nearly twice the revenue that components and accessory sales do. So if the online sales of complete bikes become as popular as those of aftermarket components, they will have at least double the impact on bike dealers. So in this competitive new market, how are bike shops going to survive? What can bike shops offer that direct-to-consumer companies can't? Well, to name a couple, service and warranty options. When you buy a bike from a local bike shop, they normally give you better incentives since you're buying locally, and they'll help support you just like you supported them. But I hate to say it, even when it comes to service, the bike shops have competition. Companies like VeloFix, Beeline, and Bike Doctor offer mobile bike shops, literally come to you and fix your bike. Something else I read in this article that I wanted to mention, because I didn't realize it before, but bike shops are at the mercy of the brands that they sell. Some brands restrict from selling bikes unassembled and box up. These rules protect consumers by making sure bikes are delivered in a safe condition, and they also protect the retailers by limiting unfair competition. Bike shops have their work cut out for them these days, so I try to support them as much as I can when I can. So let's move on and talk about what it's like to receive a direct-to-consumer bike. Almost every direct-to-consumer bike company out there is limited on how much they can actually put the bike together. So when you receive a direct-to-consumer bike, you have to put a few things together. So some assembly required is the name of the game. For me, I only had to do a few things. One of them was install the handlebars. Next was install both front and rear tires with the multi-tool that they gave me. Most direct-to-consumer bikes don't come with pedals because consumers know what they like. After setting up my suspension, I rummaged through the box that they sent. A nice multi-tool, a chainstay protector, and even some matching paint to touch up scuffs and scratches. So needless to say, having pretty well a complete bike delivered to my front door in less than 10 days was a great experience, and I can't complain about the direct-to-consumer business model. So the question still stands, are consumer direct bike brands taking over the industry? Well, from that same article on Bike Mag, CEO and founder of YT Industries goes on to talk about how the industry is constantly changing, but they also acknowledge that the consumer direct business model is disrupting bike shops, but they are motivated to eliminate them as competitors and coexist and create business for each other. There's no doubt that direct-to-consumer business model is a force to be reckoned with. But if these two types of business models, brick and mortar and direct-to-consumer, can coexist, I think the brick and mortar businesses will still be able to thrive in the industry. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode. Peace out.